Hello. Hi, my name's Trish and I'm from Trish Melilli Design. And I've been lucky enough to be invited by Michelle from this group to come in and chat about what I do and how I can possibly empower everybody in regards to logo design. So I'm just going to give everyone a few minutes because I think I might be a little bit early just to jump on, but hopefully everyone's had a lovely day. Been crazy busy for me, so I'm looking forward to the next couple of days because it's not quieting down anytime soon. Okay, so if you're watching this later on, that's okay. So I thought I might get straight into it. Okay, so my topic is basically about logo design and what makes a great logo, simply. And it's a question that I'm posed quite a lot in my business. And just to give you a very quick background, I'm a graphic designer, operate my own design studio or my own business here, and have been doing so since about September of last year. So we're almost coming on 12 months. How exciting that is. And it has been a roller coaster, as we all know in small business, but it's been a great roller coaster ride, one that I didn't expect that I would enjoy so much, but I have. So being in business, we all obviously need a logo, and that's first port of call when you're designing or when you're putting together your business marketing plan and strategy. Now, I've been designing for over 20 years and have done a vast array. Logo design is not the only thing I do, but it's something that I do a lot of, and like I said, have been doing it for quite a while. So I've picked up a few little tips and tricks along the way, and I thought I'd like to share those with you to empower you with some information about how you can talk to your graphic designer, how you can get the best out of them, how you can ensure that they have given you everything in your logo that you need to make that logo a successful logo. Okay, it's not enough to have a pretty picture as a face of your business. It's not going to bring you customers. It's not going to attract your target market. So it's very, very important when you're putting together your logo that there is a lot of forethought and that you know your market. And you need to go with that information to your designer for them to be able to speak to them. And I'll go through that in a moment. Okay, so basically, what am I going to give you? What information can I possibly give you? Graphic designers all follow the same steps when they're building their logos. And there's 5 principles that most of us should follow and ensure that all of our logos do actually have all of the elements necessary to make that logo great, okay? And there's, like I said, 5 principles. Now, what do I mean by a successful logo? A logo's a logo. It sits in front of you on your business card, it sits in front of your business, it's on your website. Okay, there's, a logo, which is a pretty picture. It's just, image, font, and colour. And that's about it. And that's all it's ever going to be. Unless you actually have your customer in mind, you have your target market in mind. And what makes a successful logo is then the psychology behind, the science behind building that logo, including the research that your designer should do. And your designer will be able to do that without you even being aware that it's being done. But I'm going to tell you what they do and what they're doing to ensure that that logo works for you. Well, they should be. And if they're not, this is your opportunity to be able to question them. Exactly. How have you made it A, B, C, D, and E? Okay. So let's just get straight in there. And we're going to start with, what are they? Let's start. Hi, I think there's somebody out there, so just say hi if you're out there. So we've got simplicity, memorability, timelessness, versatility, and appropriateness. Now, these are the 5 key principles of a logo design, a successful logo design. And I'll go into each one very briefly because I could talk about this forever and a day, and it does break up into very many different elements. But for you, what I want to do is be able, so that you can go back to your designer and say, okay, has she made this simple? Has she made this versatile? Has she made this timeless? Or he, have tick your boxes. And for you to be able to tick your boxes empowers you. It gives you the knowledge. You go into your conversation knowing what you're talking about, and then having your designer have to come back and tell you what they did. Not just put that logo together for you. So you need to make us work for you. Okay, it's not enough for us to just go away and make this logo that's going to represent your business, and you sit there and pray that it's actually going to, give you some results. Okay. All right. So let's just begin. So simplicity, fairly simple. We basically follow the KISS theory, and you've probably heard this. And if you haven't, it's the keep it simple, stupid theory, or keep it super simple. However you want to say it. There's many different variants of it. I like keep it simple, stupid. It stays in my head because got a lot of stuff going on in there. But basically that is keeping your logo extremely simple. So not overcomplicating it with too much detail. Photos, definitely not. Keeping it color simple, font simple, and image simple. And those 3 elements will actually work to speak to your market, okay? And what do I say? What do I mean by that? Speaking to your market means that we're speaking the language that your market actually understands. We as the human race, and depending on where we sit, in life, we actually look at imagery, we look at colors, we digest all of this information differently from everybody else, okay? And certain sectors, different markets will digest a particular thing, okay? So if you're targeting a particular market, a designer needs to know, work in conjunction with a marketing strategist, I suppose, or a branding person. And not all graphic designers are branding specialists. I want to make that very clear, okay? There are a lot of designers out there that will claim that they, do branding and they are branding specialists, and no, they're not, okay? I need to make it very, very clear to you. Graphic designers work hand in hand with a brand specialist or a marketing specialist. They actually come up with a branding strategy, okay? We, as graphic designers, take that information and make it visual, okay? We actually take all of that information and, with what we do, make it digestible, okay? So when somebody says that they're a branding strategist, make sure they're qualified, because it's a totally different sector to graphic design. It's a totally different thing that you learn in uni. So they are 2 separate things. Yes, I do branding, but branding basically, which is me continuing your logo and your visual for your company on all sorts of media. Okay, so that, it goes on your business card, it goes on your letterhead, it goes on your website, it goes on your billboard, it goes on your flyers, and everything looks like it's coming from you. Okay, it doesn't look like it's all mishmashed together. A branding specialist will be something a little bit different to that. They actually go in and look into the business. They look into the marketing in great detail. We do it, but we do it, along the surface. We actually get the information that we need to be able to do what we do, but they actually go in depth, okay? And they will come up with the whole branding and marketing strategy for you, all right? So yeah, be very well aware of that. Simplicity, how can it be achieved? Color, font, image, I think I've already said all those things, and keeping it very simple. Now, if you jump into my Facebook page, my business page, which has got all of my stuff, which is my current portfolio, you'll probably look at some of that stuff and go, well, hang on a sec, Trish, some of your stuff is quite detailed. Yeah, it is. And so that sort of goes a little bit against the simplicity part. But for me, the simplicity part with a logo, or when I'm creating a logo, it is a conversation with me and my client. And it's me determining, where do you want to put this logo? Do you need it to be super small? Or do you need it to be, super huge? Or do you need it to be, the smallest it's ever going to get is on a business card, or even bigger. It's up to you. So when I have that conversation with a client, that will determine how much detail a designer can actually put, or how much detail I will put into a logo. Some of mine are quite detailed, and that's because the client has suggested they don't want it small. Now, if they do want it small, that's okay. I can come back at a later date and rework it, but we're reworking a concept that's already working for them and just simplifying it to suit where they want to put it next. But a graphic designer will tend to work with simplicity versus, complicated imagery, only because we need to make it really digestible, which will lead into my next point, which is memorability. Now, memorability, a logo, what's the point of having a logo if nobody remembers it, or it's too busy to remember, or it's, not very nice to look at, or, whatever. We need to ensure that when we're creating a logo, it is simple, and that's the reason why we use simplicity. To make it easily digestible. We're living in a time where information overload is pretty huge. So when we're creating a logo or putting a logo out there, you're putting our logo out there for your target market, you want to make sure they remember it. And by keeping all the elements quite simple, we can do that, okay? Now I've got my little notes here because my head is hurting me, but I'll get through it. So excuse me if I sort of look sideways a little bit. I've just got my little notes there. So basically, remembering it relates back to simplicity. Okay, so there's another way we can actually make it memorable. And it's a little bit controversial, but I like to use it every now and again. And sometimes it's necessary to use this and I'll explain. In order to make something memorable, sometimes it has to be so far out there or so unrelated, not so unrelated that it looks totally ridiculous, but unrelated at first glance to your business. And that could be by choosing an image or an icon or a color that has nothing to do with your business, or at first glance it looks unrelated, okay? The beauty of that technique is that it becomes a conversation starter for whoever's looking at it, okay? And by doing that, you're actually creating memorability. It's actually, staying in the person's mind that actually looks at it, because they're going to remember that conversation. They're going to remember that image. They're going to remember your business. So it's sort of a little bit of a twist on the straight and narrow design, but it is a really cool way to do it. And a lot of designers have actually done this really well for a lot of companies out there and made the unrelated related to you. Try it. Now, designers, I will tend to use that tactic if, for example, if I've got a client who's, okay, they're happy to go somewhere that no one has ever been, and they're happy to trial that water. I'll go there with them, not a problem. Another reason why I might do that is if you're in a business that can't be encapsulated or can't be captured by an image, for example, or an icon, a simple icon, that's a great way to go. Let's choose something that is, let's have a look at your message, your business message. Let's have a look at your culture. Let's have a look at what you offer. Let's have a look at all of these things and come up with something that represents that, but not directly. And so I'll do that then. Great way to do it. Great way to actually have an excuse for having a conversation with somebody. You don't need an excuse to explain your business anyway. I mean, we love to talk about our businesses. But to have somebody come up to you and go, why did you choose that? Or why that color? Or why that graphic? And you go in to explain it, and then you go in behind. I guarantee you it works. It does work. And the psyche is an amazing thing. Let's use it. And we use it. That's what we do. Okay? So we make sure that the psychology is always playing a part in color, in what we use, the fonts. All of this stuff combined will actually help the message get through to your client and to your target market. Okay? That's memorability. Timelessness. What we need to ensure with our logos is that they are timeless. Fairly self-explanatory. Our logos should be relevant today as they are 5 to 10 years from now. If you're having a logo that's designed today and it won't work in 5 to 10 years from now, and why wouldn't it work? You're following a trend. You're following something that's out there at the moment. And I'll give you an example. You get all of this script type font. You'll get the handwritten stuff. Hi Jenny, how are you? It is a minefield. It really is. And I thought if I give you guys some information, at least you can go out there and go, I know my stuff. And if you don't, at least you can say you've heard it. So thanks for coming on, Jenny. Hi, Michelle. How you going? So timeless. So for example, the handwritten logos, okay, where they've got the foil, and you'll have silver foil, gold foil, the beautiful rose gold, you know. Absolutely beautiful. Don't get me wrong. They are absolutely gorgeous. And when they first started, beautiful. They are saturating the logo market at the moment, okay? So my advice to you will be stay away from that with a barge pole. And the reason I say that, that's going to date less than 5 years from now. I suspect within about a year to 2 years, you will be redesigning your logo because that is no longer the fashion. That is no longer trendy, and you're going to look dated, okay? You don't want to be doing this more than once, at the very most twice doing your logo. Why? It's an expensive process. If you're getting your logo done for less than $400, you are not getting a professionally designed logo, okay? What's that, Jenny? You've got one of those logos? If you do, that's okay. It can be reworked. We just need to take the foil out. Okay. It's not a problem. We can do it. You've just got to be really careful in how it's actually put together for you. Let me just see what you've written. Although I did get my name in the gold as well as 2 other colours because I like the font. That's okay. It's okay to do that now, but just be well aware, Jenny, that you may have to redo that. Okay. If you're prepared for that, it's all good. I have clients that have had it done, and that's fine. But I always do tell them, if you're going to go down this track, then just be prepared that you might have to do it again, okay? Or have it at least revisited, have it revamped. Keep the whatever you've had going, just revamp it, okay? But you will have to pay again for that, all right? So your designer should be well aware of what's trending, what's happening out there, and try and talk to you about that and try and prepare you for that process down the track, okay? A very well-designed logo will not date 10 years from now. It will still be relevant. It will still encapsulate what you do, and it will still talk to your target market. Your target market's never going to change, if you really think about it. Your customer is your customer. The type of person that you're aiming for is the type of person that you're aiming for. So keep your logo, your designer should keep your logo so that it is relevant. How do they keep it relevant? Keeping the fonts very simple, staying away from colours of the time, I suppose. Not to say that it's going to be daggy. It's not going to be daggy or, and for people who don't know the word daggy, because I'm a bit old, but, you know, the colours that, it's not going to look ugly is what I'm trying to say. You can still be creative with your colour choices, but just ensure that it's not going to date too much. That's also done with your icons that you choose, your imagery, your illustration, whatever that may go with it. And yeah, so fonts, colour and image. Again, it comes back to those 3 elements because that's what it's going to be. So bear that in mind. Keep it timeless. Try and work with your designer. Have a chat with them about that. And make sure that they're aware that, you know, you're aware that they're advising you about that. Okay. So the next one is appropriateness. Oh no, sorry, versatility. Well, let's have a look. What about font? Have you discovered a font? And I'm squinting. Have you discovered a font that never really dates? Your sans serifs don't really date. Your sans serif font is a Gotham or a Helvetica, and they're go-to fonts. But just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about when I say a sans serif, it's a font without the top and the bottom of the letter, okay? Your hand-scripted stuff, and excuse me, I think my internet's a bit dodgy tonight. Your handwritten stuff, depending on how well it's done, that can actually, but it's got to be handcrafted font, okay? Not somebody else's font that you've found out there, yeah? So if somebody's handcrafted that font, that's not going to date. That's almost like a signature. I mean, it becomes very symbolic of your business and it becomes symbolic of you. So yeah, your sans serifs definitely don't date. Your serif fonts, which are the the ones with the foot and the bottom, and the bottom and the top, depending on how they're used, try and stay with the sans serifs if you can, because of that exact reason, Michelle. They won't date as easily. But then it's also how they're used. Okay, so it depends on what's happening around it, what's happening with colour. That can date it, but that's all a combination of. But the actual font itself, the Gothams and the whole Helveticas and the Futuras and all that sort of stuff won't actually date. Okay. So what did we go into? Versatility. Versatility is the fourth one. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth one is, how well does your logo work on everything? And by everything, I mean it has to work on your website. It has to work sitting on an image or a background. It has to work on a business card. It has to work on a billboard. It has to work on a flyer. It has to work on a t-shirt or a uniform. It has to work on everything. And what you'll find out there most of the time is that some of these logos won't work on everything, especially if they're quite detailed. They won't be versatile. They won't be easily transferred onto a different media. Okay. We also have to make sure that they're versatile with colour, making sure that the colour matches, whether it's on your screen on your computer, whether it's on print on paper, whether it's on a vinyl sticker, whether it's on a uniform, that the colours don't sway too much. And the designer has to provide you with, or I say has to, because I think it's very, very important that a designer gives you this document. Majority of designers won't. They will give you the la-di-da document where they've got all the pretty pictures sitting on, I think they call it a mood board or something like that. They're great and they're wonderful and they're fantastic. For me and for my clients, they're useless because they're not going into font, and some designers will actually incorporate the mood board with the font used, the color used, and all the breakdowns of the colors, but very rarely have I seen them. Okay. I tend to provide my clients with a mini style guide. Now, mini style guide, and the reason I say mini is because it is restricted to font used, colors used, and the actual logo in a variety of different ways. So it'll be color, black, white, grayscale. Okay. So, and sometimes sitting on an image just to see what that looks like. But as we're designing it, I've already worked that out. We should have already worked that out by placing that image placing that logo on an image. Okay. So, by doing that process, we already know. Just nice to, yes, it is nice. It's lovely. It gives us a feeling, which is what we want, really. But where's it going to go? I don't know. I think it's just something I don't use. That's all it is. And only because I convey my logo with, and my process is more about conversation. It's more about information gathering. It's more about me understanding my client and what they want to do with their logo and how they're going to do it. I've already got this in my head. When it comes time to do the different elements, I think it confuses the client with a lot of unnecessary information. We're going to go back to simplicity because it works for me too. We need to make it very easy for you to digest what we're doing and why we're doing it. By giving you extra information, we're only making it harder for you to see the bigger picture. It depends on the client, of course. Okay. So yeah, versatility. So we've got to make sure that it works on all of those elements. So the mini style guide is very important. You should always ask for that. It should be part of your logo package. If it's not, find out why it's not. And if it's not, request it. That should be not charged extra. That has to be part of the package. Okay. What I'm actually finding out there, and I've been scouring the groups a lot and looking at what's happening out there with the designers, with people asking questions, finding out what's actually bothering them when it comes to having this process done, because what I found, it's very confusing for a lot of people. They're very standoffish about, heading for a graphic designer to do their logo because they're scared, one, of price, and two, they're scared of the language barrier, if you will. You know, there's a lot of designers there that will actually speak down and don't explain the steps and the processes and use, you know, all the funky-dory words, and I'm going to make up my own because it's that time of the night. It shouldn't be like that. I think it needs to be very simple, very easygoing. You've got a question, you should be able to talk to your designer. Just like you're talking to your doctor. You got a problem, you go to your doctor, you talk to them. You find out, you get an answer. It should be that simple. Okay, Michelle, I've never thought about that. It's so confusing. Exactly, it is. And I think you might be referring to the mood board. Is that right? I'm not sure, but just let me know. Yeah, so we've got to keep it really simple. Just like you've got to keep it simple for your customer, we've got to keep it very simple for you. You've got any questions, we should be there. We should be able to answer those quite comfortably. And if you guys have got any questions, by all means, yell them out. I'm more than happy to have a chat. Yeah, the mood board. I totally agree. I think it's very lovely, very pretty. Again, it's a trend. But what I'm actually finding is that's happening, and I'll tell you point blank, and, you know, the designs can come, and they probably will. Anyway, I'm going to say it anyway. You will find that those mood boards are created by people who have not been qualified as graphic designers through a tertiary system. There, I said it. Designers who have gone through the tertiary process, who have got their degrees in design, who have studied, you know, art history and the history of design, they have studied the science behind design, they've studied the psychology of design, don't need a mood board. Because we can explain it. We can achieve what we need to achieve without it. Okay? I'm going to get bitten for that. I can feel it. Michelle, get ready. But I've said it, and I stand by it, and that's the difference between, I'm going to say that's the difference between myself and a lot of designers out there. We all have different processes, but that, you know, most of the designers who are qualified and have got the corporate clients won't be doing mood boards. A corporate client does not want a mood board, period. The mood board is a trend that's been started for startups. I'm going to say, okay, to woo them. It's basically to woo them and to make them look like they've gone above and beyond and chosen these amazing. No, you don't need it. You really don't need it. Okay? Don't get a mood board. Ask them for a mini style guide. That is your insurance. That will break down every colour possibility you possibly have. That will have the name of your font. That can be handed over to another designer if you choose not to work with the same one that created that logo. And you can actually take that piece of paper, go to the designer and say, I want my logo to be followed exactly to this. And these style guides can go into in depth, okay? It depends on how much information you want. Corporates will actually use this style guide as insurance, okay? So if they forward this on to another designer or another design house, and that design house does not follow that style guide to the T, that's a way that they don't have to pay for a product. Do you understand? It's a powerful, powerful tool, and you should be requesting that at every. It doesn't matter if you're a startup, doesn't matter if you're mid-sized, corporates will get it, period. They know the value of it. So you should have the mentality of a corporate. Make sure that you get that style guide. If that's the one piece of information I'm going to give you tonight, get your style guides, okay? Okay, Jenny. No, you won't. The thing is, though, that as a client, we like to create them. We like to see our ideas on a mood board. I get it, though. I think they have their place as they, and I can't see the rest. Bummer. As they sometimes help us. Okay, sorry, Jenny, I can't see the rest of that. I'd like to actually ask you, Jenny, how does it help you? Is it a visual idea that you get? Is it for your website? Is it for you to accentuate your feeling of your business? Because you won't be showing that to a client. That won't go off to your client. That's only going to be for you. I'm actually interested. I'm genuinely interested to find out how the mood board works for a lot of people, because the clients I've worked with don't want them and find them useless, and I tend to agree. But please let me know, Jenny. I'm more than happy to hear your answer there, and happy to have a discussion about that. That's an awesome one. So from Versatility, also wanted to cover with Versatility very quickly is scalability of your logo. And I sort of mentioned that, does it have to be this small? Does it have to be huge? Scalability of your logo can only be achieved in a program called Illustrator, which is creating your logos via using a vector file, okay, which is basically allowing us to have the highest possible resolution. Doesn't matter what you do with that logo, it doesn't become pixelated in any way, shape or form. It can be sized beautifully, it can be reduced, a whole bunch of things can happen to it before it gets totally destroyed, okay? So you need to make sure that when you're creating having your logo created, that they're doing it in Illustrator, they're not doing it in GIMP, they're not doing it in Photoshop, they're not doing it in Publisher, they're not doing it in Word. Illustrator, and only Illustrator, start to finish, okay? Not what I got back from the designer. I hope that makes sense. No, that's okay. I'll read back. I'll answer you in the comments once I've read it properly. But yeah, so sorry, Jenny. I don't mean to be horrible, but yeah, I can't connect that. So scalability. Yeah. Also, another thing with Versatility, your graphic designer will always begin their logo process or your logo process in black and white. Okay. Color is a secondary process. If all the elements work in black and white, then it will work with color. Color is a totally different addition to your logo and needs a lot of thought, and we need to choose the right color for your market, and we need to choose it based on psychology of color and how it speaks to people. So black and white vector is the only place that a logo should start. Illustrator is the only place it should start and finish. Okay. All right, and that leads us to the very last one, and I'm sorry I've gas-bagged a bit, but like I said, it's a topic I could go on for forever, and I hope you'll watch it back and sort of gain, the bits that you need out of it that's appropriate to you. But appropriateness, okay, which is basically make sure that your logo is appropriate for your target market. Make sure that the imagery you use and the fonts you use and the colors you use speak in the language of your target market. Just as we speak Chinese and Italian and Mandarin and, all these other languages, unless we're speaking that language, we're not going to understand it. Yeah? Michelle, where can we get more information of the psychology of color? You can ask me. I've actually created a PDF about this particular topic, and just about to pop it somewhere on the big interwebs. But I do touch psychology of color. I actually go in depth, and I'll be doing some lives on my page as well, and I'm happy to do it for you as well, Michelle. But the psychology basically goes down to, for example, yellow and the emotions that yellow is supposed to spark in people or bring forth, which makes them attract to you. It also relates to, so you may think of your business or your business as professional, classy, educational, whatever it may be. I can't remember the list off my top of my head, but there's probably about, I don't know, 10 or 11 of them, and it goes through a list of another probably, 10 to 15 words. So you can actually choose your color, go down this chart, it'll have a list of words. You come up with then a list of 5 to 6 words that would describe your business, and then it sort of gives you a starting point as to where, whether it's the black hues that you need to be looking at, if it's the gold, if it's the silver, if it's yellow, orange, whatever it may be. That will actually give you a great starting point for your designer. And from there, they will actually start working with you in regards to that. If you can pop that in the thread here, yeah, absolutely, I can do that, definitely. So yeah, the psychology is really, really important. Even to the psychology is even in the fonts we use. Sans serif mean a certain thing to a certain person. The serifs mean a certain thing to a certain person. Script, again, is the same thing. So you need to use the most appropriate font, color, image for your market. And I'll just keep saying that because they speak a totally different language. And if you think of it this way, if your target market is an 18-year-old male who's a tradie, okay, that 18-year-old male is going to be different to an 18-year-old male who is in uni, who is unemployed, who is just on his, getting ready to take off in the world, they have a different psychology. They have a different buying habit or pattern. They have a different way of speaking. They have a different way of socializing, of where they eat and where they drink and what they eat and what they drink. And, do they have kids? Then that changes the market again. So you need to understand all of these things. And if you haven't created an avatar for you, and I'm sort of touching a few things because this sort of all interrelates, but if you haven't created an avatar for your business, I think you really need to do that. And if you want some information, again, I can help you with that. I've got an avatar sheet which you can sort of work through, and it helps you pinpoint your market, which is a great thing out there, into one person. And you give it a name, you figure out its gender, you figure out how much that person earns, and you figure out all of this stuff so that when you're targeting or creating your logo or targeting your branding or doing your Facebook ads, your advertising, your flyers, whatever it may be, you actually use the language that they will understand. And even to the words that you choose is very, very important. Okay? So again, if you need help with that, I'm more than happy to have a conversation about that. But that's a whole different topic. It's a whole topic on its own. And that your branding strategist will go into even more detail with you. Okay? So I and we would do that on a very simplistic level. Your brand specialist will actually, I can't speak tonight, your brand specialist will actually go in depth and really break that down to, it's very, very exciting when you look at it and you can actually, give it a name like Jacinta or Paul, and you know exactly who Jacinta or Paul is in regards to your business. Okay? And that's really important for logo design. We need to know who Jacinta and Paul are and what they do and how they think and how they speak and how they buy. More importantly, how they buy. Because at the end of the day, we're looking for customers. Yeah. So very important, know your market appropriateness. So if you're doing a logo, if I'm doing a logo for a childcare, for example, I'm going to use childlike imagery for that. That same imagery, that same color palette won't work if I'm creating a logo for, a lawyer or a law firm. It's not going to work the same way. It's actually going to detract. And just want to add here, if you don't get your logo right, you can actually attract the wrong market. You can actually get the wrong person coming to your business. And you want to make sure that you attract the right market. Okay? I think I've gotten to the end of my live. I think I might have gone a little bit over time, but that's okay. If there's anything there you want to discuss further, I'm more than happy to have a chat with you. If, you want to have a chat about your logo to see if all those things have actually gone into that creation of that logo. Happy to do that too. I'm a gas bag, so I like to talk, as you probably gathered. Yeah, Michelle, really, really important. Thank you. I hope you got some information. Fantastic. I think it's one of those ones where you sort of have to look back and take a few notes because there's a lot of stuff that sort of happens. But you can sort of understand if you go to your designer with those 5 keywords, a little bit about each one of them, making sure that your logo actually works and is utilizing all those things, I guarantee you your logo is going to be successful. It's actually going to achieve results, and you're not going to have to redo that logo for many, many, many years, which is money in your pocket. All right? So you guys have a fantastic night, an awesome week. And Michelle, thanks again, and see you later. Bye.